Right, ready for the last part of the chapter. The tower opened and a man climbed out, stretching himself in the cold morning air. Even without the half moon, Alex would have recognised the sleek dancer's body and the close-cropped hair of the man whose photograph he had seen only a few days before. It was Gregorovich, the contract killer, the man who had murdered Ian Ryder. He was dressed in grey overalls. He was smiling. Gregorovich had supposedly met Sayle in Cuba. Now here he was in Cornwall. So the two of them were working together. But why? Why would the Stormbreaker project need a man like him? Nadia Vol walked to the end of the jetty and Yasin climbed down to join her. They spoke for a few minutes, but even assuming they were speaking in English, there was no chance of their being overheard. Meanwhile, the guards from Sayle Enterprises had formed a line stretching back almost to the point where the vehicles were parked. Yasin gave an order as Alex watched from behind the rocks. A large metallic silver box with a vacuum seal appeared, held by unseen hands at the top of the submarine's tower. Yasin himself passed it down to the first of the guards, who then passed it back up the line. About 40 more boxes followed, one after another. It took almost an hour to unload the submarine. The men handled the boxes carefully. They didn't want to break whatever was inside. By 3 o'clock, they were almost finished. The boxes were now being packed into the back of the truck that Alex had vacated. And that was when it happened. One of the men standing on the jetty dropped one of the boxes. He managed to catch it again at the last minute, but even so, it banged down heavily on the stone surface. Everyone stopped instantly. It was as if a switch had been thrown and Alex could almost feel the raw fear in the air. Yasin was the first to recover. He darted forward along the jetty, moving like a cat, his feet making no sound. He reached the box and ran his hands over it, checking the seal, then nodded slowly. The metal wasn't even dented. With everyone else so still, Alex heard the exchange that followed. "It's okay, I'm sorry," the guard said. "It's not damaged and I won't do that again." "No, you won't," Yasin agreed and shot him. The bullet spat out of his hand, red in the darkness. It hit the man in the chest, propelling him backwards in an awkward cartwheel. The man fell into the sea. For a few seconds he looked up at the moon as if trying to admire it one last time. Then the black water folded over him. It took another 20 minutes to load the truck. Yasin got into the front with Nadia Vol. Mr. Grin went in one of the cars. Alex had to time his return carefully. As the truck picked up speed, rumbling back up towards the road, he left the cover of the rocks, ran forward and pulled himself in. There was hardly any room, but he managed to find a hole and squeeze himself into it. He ran a hand over one of the boxes. It was about the size of a tea chest, unmarked and cold to touch. He tried to find a way to open it, but it was locked in a way he didn't understand. He looked back out of the truck. The beach and the jetty were already far below him. The submarine was pulling out to sea. One moment it was there, sleek and silver, gliding through the water. Then it had sunk below the surface, disappearing as quickly as a bad dream. What a corker. What a corker. What is in those boxes? I want to know what is in those boxes. I mean, for them all to freak out when it was dropped, it's got to be something volatile, possibly fragile, and it's got to be linked to Stormbreaker, surely. And Yasin Gregorovich, the assassin, is working for Sayle. Ian Ryder's murderer is on the scene. It's all fixing together so greatly. The big question for me is, what are they up to and how is Alex going to stop them? My other concern, as you well know by this point, you know it, are they onto Alex? Are they onto him? Because I think they must be. That's enough about what I think. What do you think? I would like you to really think about it. I'm going to put some question prompts, but not masses. I think I'm going to go into town on the questions. I want broad thinking questions. Have a good chat. Go on FaceTime, chat with each other. And then we'll see another chapter tomorrow. Ooh, it's getting juicy.